Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Yes and Ask Me. And I'm going to mute my Twitch feed. Fantastic. Yes and Ask Me is a show based out of San Antonio, Texas, where I, Rick, get to interview some of the senior players of the San Antonio improv community and just pick their brains, find out what makes them tick, listen to their opinions, what they have to say about certain topics. And today's topic is chemistry. And that is, of course, feel within themselves and also show the audience members. I think I'm going to go ahead and introduce my panel now. My first guest is Tina Jackson, owner of Bexar Stage here in San Antonio, Texas. Tina, would you like to join us? Hey, yeah, Tina, how's it going?
Good. You were breaking up a little bit on the intro. What are we talking about today?
Oh, hey, I'm sorry about that. So today we're talking about chemistry. Chemistry between onstage performers, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in.
Wonderful. Okay, excellent. Great. My next guest is Clint. Clint, also another senior player here in the Bexar Stage community. Hey, Clint, how's it going?
Hello, good to be here.
Good, man. Thanks for joining us. I happen to know that Clint, you are one of the instructors out of Bexar Stage here in San Antonio. Is that correct?
That's correct. I teach a few levels: level 1, level 4 with Tina, and then level 3 just started.
Hypothetically.
I taught one class.
Excellent.
We do our best.
All right. My next guest is Jay. Jay, why don't you come ahead and step into this room? Hey, thanks, Jay. How's it going?
Oh, hello. Today I'm sponsored by Mario Badisco Face Primers.
Oh no, are we getting ads? I didn't.
Wait, we can have sponsors. I want a sponsor.
I want a sponsor.
Oh.
Glad to be here.
Jay, you are another one of the senior member players here in the San Antonio improv community. I know that we've had Tina. Oh, hey, check that out. I know we've had Tina and we've had Clint on my show before. Jay, can you give us a little bit of background on how long you've been doing improv?
I'm about to enter probably my 10th or 9th year. I lose track all the time. Started in high school sophomore year, and I've studied at several Texas locales.
Sounds good. Okay, so again, today's topic is chemistry. And Tina, I want to start with you. When we talk about on-stage chemistry, could you just describe that to us? What are we talking about?
Oh man, chemistry on stage is, that thing that you feel in relationships when you just can't really explain like necessarily why you're friends with somebody or why exactly something works, but there's like you can see a visible connection between these two people. They laugh at the same time and at the same stuff, enjoying each other's company, people you can spend a lot of time with. And when you see performers really having fun together on stage, that's when I'm finding chemistry. When you can see them laughing together and playing with each other, and sometimes it means at each other's expense, but not in a mean way. That's where I'm really seeing chemistry on stage. But I think there's also chemistry off stage. I think there's great relationships that build off stage that sometimes really contribute to on stage chemistry. And that's part of that is just spending a lot of time together.
Are these two things always the same? I mean, if a team has off-stage chemistry, will they always have on-stage chemistry?
Not always, but I would say that it's a big contributing factor to what contributes to on-stage chemistry is off-stage chemistry as well. I would almost bet, maybe not quite, that if you have on-stage chemistry, you probably have off-stage chemistry, but if you have off-stage chemistry, you don't necessarily have on-stage chemistry.
Okay.
That might be fair to say. In most cases, I think that would be true. But I've already thought of examples that contradict my own statement. So it's not a total.
Clint, here in San Antonio, I've seen you perform with multiple different groups. These are teams that you were a part of. Clint, I've also seen you perform in jams where you're performing on stage with people that you've never performed with before. Do you know what it feels like to have chemistry and also experience other situations where you just didn't have any chemistry with the people on stage?
Yeah, I think it feels like there is a wall in between the two performers when there's not chemistry, because you're not able to interact. And I think that's where it all comes from, is chemistry is talking about chemical reactions. And so those two chemicals have something that allows them to interact with each other. And that's why we call this chemistry, is because there's something about those two performers, or those more than two performers, that they click for some reason. And it just feels I think what that is just shared experiences. Whether you share them with each other or you've shared them separately, but when you're on stage together, it's like those two things, y'all both grew up in the country. And so you have those references that you're able to play off of each other.
Right.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so Jay, I see you nodding your head. Tina referred to chemistry as a connection, and Clint said that when you don't have chemistry, it's like a wall between you. Would you agree with that?
I would agree for like long-term groups. Like I've been in several groups long-term where like I didn't have chemistry with anyone, and scenes were slowing down and hitting walls. Like I'll say like, how's your gay? The gay troupe at Bexar Stage. All of us have a ton of offstage chemistry because we're all good friends. But I think on stage there's like a disconnect for me specifically.
I'm gonna have to understand that more. So if you have chemistry with these guys off stage, why don't you have that chemistry on stage?
Well, like Tina said, like sometimes it just doesn't translate. I think it has a lot to do of play style, and like I used to do a lot of jams. I don't anymore. I'm picky now. And I learned that if you don't have chemistry with these players you just met, the best way to approach it is to make sure you're entering with your open yes and mind, and you're ready to emphatically help them out in the scene, whatever they're doing.
I would totally agree with that as the only method out of a situation where you don't have chemistry. It's just to yes and the hell out of something.
Yeah, it's a balance where like if you don't have chemistry, you can balance out your lack of chemistry with just really good improv skills. Don't have really good improv skills. I've seen teams, I've been part of teams that we weren't very good improv wise, but we had such good chemistry, it raised up the performance.
Oh yeah, me too. Even an example, when I was in college, there was a guy on my college improv team who I would say best friends with. You know, like we hung out together and we did a lot of stuff together. And he and I were both on the college improv team, and we did shitty scenes together. Something just didn't match, and we didn't do great scenes together. But then there was another guy on the college improv team who I just thought was very hot. But he and I did great scenes together. And that's part of the reason I was attracted to him, was I was like, oh man, I'm just doing really good work. There's obviously something here, and we're connecting, and like we're playing really good scenes. But like we weren't super good friends. We were just like, we were friends, but we weren't like super close. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it was just an example to me where I was like, man, I would think I would have better chemistry with this guy and not as good with this guy because I don't know him as well. And it was really just the opposite. I think sometimes there's no accounting for the chemistry or how people do connect. Because it's not necessarily always best friends play best together.
Now, it's saying that it's a mystery to you why somebody that you got along with so well, you don't know why you didn't have good onstage chemistry.
I can't figure it out like in a way that definitively satisfies my curiosity about it. I can find some reasons where there were certain things that he would do as like his go-to improv moves that I wasn't crazy about, but like it doesn't account, I think, for why we just miss each other so hard when we were playing scenes together. But that was college.
Clint,
I don't know.
Clint, so I know you to be an incredibly analytical player. On a previous show, you were insistent that you could learn to be an X Factor player.
Yeah.
So that being your kind of personality, do you think that chemistry is something that you absolutely have to be able to foster, control, create if you put your mind to it?
To go back on my previous comment, you do not have to have chemistry. I think that two players that are playing at the top of their yes and game can do a serviceable scene, an enjoyable scene without chemistry. Do I think that you can force chemistry? Absolutely. I think you can force chemistry.
Yeah.
The teams that I have felt the most chemistry with, one of them was not here, and one reason that we had such good chemistry was we grew up together. I think there's something very valuable to learning together to foster that sense of community, and also like seeing where each other have come from. There's so many reasons growing together makes you a good team.
Oh, absolutely. Because
go ahead, Tina.
to explain for the audience, Not Here was a group that came out of a class. So they came up through the improv program together. They spent for the longest time, all of your total improv experience was only with each other, right? So if you were improvising with one of those 5 people, and that's still true with you. Is that most times that you're improvising with at least one of those people from your class, because that's where you're comfortable. Those are your friends, and you've come up together with that shared experience and built those connections together in a natural, organic way.
And then you can build connections inorganically too, because Not Here did a bunch of team gatherings outside of the stage, which felt very forced in terms of like, we're not doing this as friends, we're doing this as an improv team to make us a better improv team. But it was fun, silly shit that friends would do together anyways.
It was tailgating key party. Yeah. That was my favorite one.
So Clint, did that help your chemistry? I mean, I think
yes, absolutely. Because it gave us those shared experiences that I think is what is required for chemistry on stage. Is now we're able to reference that time we went to the monster truck rally together. Now we're able to reference that time that we went kayaking down the river and somebody almost died. Yeah.
Okay, so Jay, I want to hear about your team, Friendship Mystery Solvers, because you and your scene partner or team partner in that group, you guys have incredible chemistry on stage. So I want to hear you tell me that you and Kevin hang out all the time and see each other every single weekend. Is that true?
I don't hang out with anyone outside of the theater ever. So the only time I see Kevin are at the theater. And like I said, it's not that for like a chemistry. Because we hang out and chat and we have things to reference, it's more that I go into every show, like no matter what Kevin does, it's an absolute truth. And I'm gonna react to it appropriately.
So you don't find it a chemistry thing as much as it is just agreement and yes and? Yes, that makes your team good?
I think a lot of my performance is not chemistry related, just that I go in and I'm like, it sure is.
Jay, have you ever felt like there was a moment on stage that you felt like this is chemistry and not me forcing a really good yes and?
Specifically for Friendship Mystery Solvers or
no,
any show?
Anywhere.
Okay, my college improv team, we had like insane chemistry on stage.
Yeah.
But we never hung outside of it. But like,
what would you attribute it to then?
You know what? If you're a nice person and you like other people, your energy welcomes other energies on stage.
I think coming off of that, one thing I would say too is that I think chemistry, we talked about faking chemistry a little bit. Can you fake chemistry? And I sort of like wrinkled my face because I don't think that's certainly ideal. I mean, certainly ideal is you've got some natural chemistry that you can foster and develop. When you don't have natural chemistry, I think the way to find it is trust, right? Because I think being able to trust that somebody is going to pick up what you're laying down, give it back to you, and that you'll be able to, I think it's trust and respect that lend itself to chemistry. And a lot of that comes from a natural friendship, right? So the more you get to know somebody, the more you trust them because you understand where they're coming from, where their head's at, what they've been through, and what you can sort of put on their plate. And that's just friends, right? But to take that on stage with you, you take extra improv care of each other, right? I'm going to yes and you. I'm going to support your decisions. If you're out there by yourself, I'm going to jump out with you. You know what I mean? Like there's extra.
I want to push back against that idea of trust, though, because I think that trust is absolutely required for improv, but I think that's an improv rule rather than chemistry. And the way you defined chemistry at the top of the show was, remind me.
Well, it was about connection.
Yeah,
right?
connection.
But
Okay.
I think one of the ways that you can find connection is through trust. And I'm not saying it's the only way, but I find that the people I have the best chemistry with are the people I play with. And I know no matter what, like if I went out on stage and did nothing, they're still going to make me look good. I trust that they're going to take care of me out there. And that gives me, I think, a greater sense of being able to free up my mind, free up my physicality, to be able to do something a little bit more fun to watch or experience, rather than playing it safe and maybe just doing more of the yesing and less of the anding. But I think my best yes and comes with trust, comes with chemistry. So I think that's maybe where my perspective comes from.
So I love this because Clint, even though you pushed back on Tina a little bit about the whole trust issue, you described not having chemistry as that wall. And personally, I always think that when I begin to trust somebody, those walls start to come down. And the more time I spend with somebody off stage and get to know them, the more comfortable I feel with them on stage, because I know where their boundaries are. I know how their mind thinks. I know where they're going to go, where they're not going to go, yeah, roughly. So I think that trust is something that you might have already been doing when you've been hanging out with your team not here off stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I personally define chemistry as separate from trust. I think they go with each other a lot. However, a part of it is when you have some moments of chemistry with Miguel, is he comes at me from an angle that I never would have expected. And that's not predicting him. And I don't think that's really, I don't know if that's him trusting me, but it's just like he feels free enough to make that big, bold, crazy choice.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's because they're trust, but I still push back against the idea. Those are two good things that work together to make a good scene.
Yeah.
They're two separate things. Trust is separate from chemistry.
I agree. I do not equate trust and chemistry, but when I'm thinking about chemistry, I'm also thinking about trust. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Jay, you've been nodding your head throughout this whole thing, man. I want to hear what you got to say about trust and chemistry.
If I'm entering on a stage with someone, I trust they know yes and I trust that they're not going to try and embarrass me on stage, and I trust whatever they throw out there, they're going to accept it within the world of our scene. So I don't necessarily need chemistry to do good work with, because I'll say at my level 6 graduating class, I had almost no chemistry with most of the players, but our shows were really good.
Yeah, absolutely. You can still do a good show without chemistry. And I think that's, I think that is a product of maybe a different kind of connection.
Yeah. So then what does it mean for the audience for there to be chemistry on stage and there not to be chemistry on stage?
I think shows without chemistry can, I think chemistry is another way to connect with an audience. Because when they see 2 people or 3 people or a group of people having a really good time together, I think they are more likely to enjoy the show because they see, when somebody yawns, you yawn. It's like reflexive, where it's like, man, they're having so much fun. Something's going well, right? Like even if I'm, you know what I mean? Like there's something reflexive about enjoying yourself on stage that makes the audience enjoy it more. I don't think that's blanket. If you're enjoying yourself, the audience is going to enjoy it, because I've seen shows where they're having the best freaking time on stage and the audience is nonplussed and ready to pick and they walk this, right? So I don't think that's a one-to-one comparison, but I do think that what I think Jay was saying earlier is a true yes and a true listener, you know, like a very skilled improviser can have no chemistry at all with somebody and still put on a really good show. And I still think that's true.
I think where chemistry comes into that is if you want to have long-lasting groups.
Yeah.
Because I tend not to have a lot of chemistry with fellow players, and my groups are short-lived, and I'm fine with that.
Because you don't miss the chemistry. No, I know. The team I used to play with in Chicago, I played with dozens of teams in the 10 years I was in Chicago, dozens and dozens of teams. And some of them were one-offs that we played one time with this group. And some of them were like a little bit more pickup teams. But like the team I played with really seriously in Chicago was the Belmont Transfer. And we, to this day, I think are all really super important to each other because we had such great chemistry. Were we the best improv team in Chicago? Probably not. But we loved playing shows together. And to this day, if I called these guys and I was like, dude, let's hang out and do a Zoom show or do a whatever, I guarantee you they'd all be there because we still like have all these warm, fuzzy feelings for each other, even though we haven't played together in a number of years since we all kind of moved away. But I think that, but the chemistry helped us stay together for 10 years while we were in Chicago together, and will help teams. I think you're right. The longevity of a team really does depend on chemistry. If you like hanging out with people, if you like the shows that you do, if you trust and respect, like all those the kind of things that go into each other, but the chemistry is really what keeps teams together.
So that's really complicated because so far this idea of chemistry, it seems so abstract, so hard to control, so hard to create. So if I was thinking to myself, I absolutely have to have chemistry with my team players or else I'm going to have a shit show every single time. That would be a terrible thought. That'd be awful. And what I'm hearing Jay say basically is, hey, fuck chemistry. I'm a good improviser. I can get up on stage and do good fucking work. And I don't need that chemistry. It's actually comforting.
Yeah, and I do have a solo show because I have such crazy thoughts like that. Because I trust in my basic improv skills to think I can handle a scene on my own by myself.
I don't need you and your chemistry. You can't stay out of my scene. I'll do this.
Oh God.
Something that Tina and Rick said was, Tina said that it feels good. That's what chemistry feels like. It's fun and you love being on stage with those people. And Rick brought up that it's comforting to know that you don't need chemistry because I can fall back to my basics and I'll make a good scene. But then now the question is like, what are you doing improv for? If you're doing it for the audience, which is good, you can fall back on your improv skills. But if you want to enjoy being on stage, that's where I think you do need chemistry. I think it's harder to enjoy it if you're only performing for others.
And that's why you need chemistry to have that lasting power. Because if you don't have that chemistry, just like you guys said, your team probably isn't going to be around for that long because you're not having a good time, just like you said, Clint.
That's really interesting. I don't think I've ever put all of that together before, but I do think that that's really true as far as chemistry being the #1 factor toward the longevity of a team. Rather than necessarily good shows or consistency, I think it's really the chemistry between people that will keep a team together. Because when I'm thinking, I'm trying to disprove all of our theories by thinking about teams, and every single one of the ones that I'm thinking of that has lasted a long time, I'm thinking about people with great freaking chemistry with each other.
Yeah,
it's really interesting.
Also, if you have chemistry with your teammates, the high fives after a show, just feel better.
That's true.
Absolutely.
In the same vein, Clint, maybe you can speak to this. Now, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but bad shows feel good together too, don't they?
Oh yeah.
Like when you can ride that shit out together and nobody's playing blame games. I think bad shows can feel really good with your team too if you have the right chemistry. That the show quality doesn't matter as much as you ride it out together. if that makes sense.
No, I
I'm not
love
saying-
that thought.
And I'm never saying you shouldn't care about show quality, but I am saying that even the bad shows or the shows that don't feel as good, you're there with people who really still have your back.
Yeah, because bad shows are what can tear, or bad shows are what fracture the team.
And yeah, for sure.
But chemistry can then it makes you immune to those fractures.
Or repair. Yeah, easy to
Yeah,
repair.
maybe not immune, you're right. You can have enough bad shows that
It happens. Yeah, sometimes at some point you're just like, well,
Yeah.
that's it. We're done now.
That's a huge selling factor to me. If somebody told me if I had good chemistry with my teammates, that a bad show would always feel good afterwards, I mean, that's, for me, that's better than saying if you have good chemistry, you'll always have a good show. Because I'm always going to have a bad show every now and then, and
yeah, we all
I don't want to.
do.
Yeah, I don't want to feel broken up afterwards.
I think the opposite is true. I've had really good shows where afterward I was like, ugh, that's over. Glad the audience enjoyed it because I didn't actually enjoy playing with the
Yeah.
people.
Do you think sometimes that perhaps you just don't have chemistry with anyone?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like
Hence
I-
the one man show.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I was like, I feel like I've got such great chemistry with them, just starting to question everything.
Oh no, that's a hilarious thought. That you might think that you have this great chemistry with a performer, and then like later on, you're like, this guy fucking hates me.
I will qualify that there was a duo at Bear Stage that thought they had great chemistry, but it was one-sided entirely.
Oh.
Yeah.
Shit.
That's not juicy gossip. It's just true.
No, I guess that can happen. Yeah.
Mhm. But it was a fun show while it lasted, but it didn't last long.
Again, right. If you don't have chemistry, your team isn't going to last that long. That's excellent. There was that glimmer of hope for all the teams that are out there trying to figure out how long their team is going to last. And that hope came from Clint, hoping that, like, I mean, what do we have control over? We can go watch a movie together, right? We can go get beers together. We can go
I love that. Yeah.
to watch monster trucks together, right? So maybe you can't make chemistry happen with like a switch, but at the very least you can control that you can hang out together on the weekend.
Right. The switch that you can control is just being a good improviser, right?
Yeah.
Going back to your basics, hitting yes and, always listening, hyper listening, being there for each other. You can be a good improviser. That's the switch that you can control. But the long-term chemistry fix, I think, is connectedness. And you can fake that or try to connect over over shared experiences.
I don't think it's and I disagree with the use of. I don't think you're faking it on stage. You never fake it. You build chemistry, and you can force yourselves to build chemistry. That's what I was saying was inorganic. Was that
Okay.
not because we were going out because we were an improv team, and we knew that hanging out together would make us better improvisers, and that in itself was fun. But it was inorganic in that it wasn't just like friends texting to go hang out. We became friends through
Hanging out to get improv chemistry.
Yes.
Got it. It just happened in the opposite direction. Okay. All right. That's really funny. I enjoyed that.
Hey guys, we're out of time. Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it. I always say it.
Time flew by so fast. Does anybody want to get that last word in? I'm waiting for Jay to say like chemistry fucking sucks.
You don't need that shit.
You don't need that shit.
Don't need it.
You know what? As long as you love the people you're playing with, and I'll apply Mario Badusco facial
We're
growth
not getting money.
Just know that even if your shows won't be great, they'll feel great, and that's the best part of this whole experience.
I want to thank my panel for joining me today. Jay, I've seen you perform on stage so many times. I would never have known that you don't have chemistry with those people because you've always put on a good show. And I saw your one-man show and it was fucking fantastic.
You had such good chemistry with you.
Yeah.
Only I know my experiences, I guess.
Again, thank you for joining us. Clint, This is your second time on the show. Thank you so much for your perspective, for your thoughts. I love getting into your analytical brain. It's always fun. Tina Jackson, owner of Bear Stage Improv Theater here in San Antonio. Again, thank you for sponsoring the show. Thank you for being on. Again, great to hear your perspective.
Hey, I just like arguing with Clint about things.
I want to thank all of our Twitch viewers. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I want to also say that our next show is going to be Wednesday of this week, also at 6 o'clock. So please join us. And the last thing that I want to say, thank you, is that we are in crazy time, folks. And improv theaters across the country are kind of in a little bit of pain right now. So if you're joining us from outside of San Antonio, look up an improv theater in your area, bookmark them as soon as they're open, go and watch them, support them. I assure you'll have an amazing time. You might see some chemistry on stage. If you're in the San Antonio area, come and watch, or come to Bear Stage as soon as we're open again, but also go to bearstage.com. And in this difficult time right now, you might be able to hit the donate button and support Bear Stage for all the cool stuff they do and all of the people that they allow to perform on stage. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Goodbye, folks.
Thanks to all our Twitch viewers. I just looked and they're all saying their favorite improv teams with chemistry. We appreciate that.
That's great. Awesome. I hope I'm on there someplace.
You are.
Bye, folks.
Bye, guys.